welcome to Yield Today. I'm here with Nick Sosa. He is going to be at IBM pretty soon, and he has a really cool journey of just overcoming limitations, networking, and just not being scared to be yourself. So thanks for coming on, Nick.
Yeah, no, of course, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here and just kind of tell my story. The things that I've done to get where I am. Not saying that I'm incredibly successful, but definitely things that I want to share for students to know. So
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm glad you came on. Let's kind of go back to your early years. What were some of the conditioning or some of the habits and things that were kind of put into your environment early on?
yeah, I would definitely say that my brother was a huge influence throughout just my whole career to this day. So ever since I was about 12 years old, I could see how his career started to develop, and I thought it was so cool, right? Because the things that we had gone through, coming from Argentina, living in the States, trying to get by, and then seeing my brother take off and just doing incredible things, changing the environment around him, including, the things that I did. I would say that's one of the biggest things that has helped me, see what I am capable of. So definitely, you know, that's a huge influence for sure.
So your brother's an agent of change.
100%. Yeah.
Was not willing to settle for whatever he was born into or whatever.
Yep. Definitely had a huge dream, and my brother's the type of guy that if he wants something, he's going to do everything to achieve it, and he puts his energy into the right things. I see a lot of people not putting their energy into the correct things or things that will get them to places. But my brother is the one that he's one of those guys where he identifies an opportunity, evaluates it, and does everything in his power to get there. So.
Gotcha. So this is your older brother, and so yeah.
Yeah, that's my older brother. He's currently at Microsoft now. Has had a career in HP, Franklin Covey, some big names, and he's really, really done some amazing things here at BYU-I as the president for, I believe it was a semester, maybe even two. But yeah, he's definitely made some big changes, not for just me, but literally this whole campus. So, yeah.
That's cool. What do you think are some of the biggest attributes from him that you admire that you want to have more in yourself?
I gotta touch on drive again because anything that he puts his mind to, it's just crazy to me how he can get there and how fast. That's something I admire so much about him, and I just don't have that type of drive, and I want to learn that, and I want to instill that in myself by really just seeing what he does and leading and seeing his example really helps me. So definitely drive.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I know from my experience, I've had some older brother figures, and I also have an older brother who has autism. You just learn so much from their examples, and it makes you want to be better.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, I would say drive, and I would say just for the love for people around him, he's always put his energy into things that are going to help others and not just himself. And he's the one that I learned networking from, initially. I know networking is huge now and has been for a while, but he's the one that really showed me what it could really do. And like I said, I've tried to follow in his footsteps ever since.
That's cool. Yeah, I think when you spend time reflecting and kind of what you were saying, how he evaluates a situation, really helps you see it for what it really is and go after it before it becomes more and more clear to everybody, like, oh, we really should have jumped on this. So you had a little bit of an insider look from him.
For sure. No, I did. It's great. And to this day, he's been helping me and kind of identifying what opportunities are most valuable, especially during this time as I'm graduating. And, I have this IBM offer, which I'm incredibly happy about, but also identifying other opportunities around me that, might bring value as well along with IBM. So he's helped me do that.
That's awesome. So I did some digging in your LinkedIn profile, as I of course need to do.
Right.
You've done some door-to-door. You've done some phone stuff. You've just kind of killed it wherever you've gone. So kind of bring us back to what what led to the beginning of sales for Nick?
Yeah, thanks for doing that digging. I've done a lot of sales. I identified my career in sales around 13 years old. I was hired at a company called Diamond Peak. It's a ski rental shop company. And on the rental floor, we had a lot of interaction with the clients, trying to find the right ski for them, adjust the bindings to their level of skiing, what they're wanting. So very quickly, I realized I really like talking to people and finding a solution that they're needing, right? So after that, I went throughout high school, worked there for most of high school, worked at a barbecue place as well. I knew sales was my career that I wanted to dive into. And then right as I got to school, after my LDS mission, my brother told me about a company called StuCamp. And he told me that they were having a informational session in one of the rooms here at the Man-Wearing Center. And I thought I'd just go. There was pizza, and I was like, all right, I'll just go check it out. I didn't really think much of it, right?
You never do.
You never do. When you hear pizza, it's like, all right, I'm there, right? So yeah, I went, ate some pizza. I actually listened to what they had to say. Adam Pace was the manager that was hiring, that was presenting at the time at StuCamp, and he was talking about StuCamp and what they did. I thought it was really cool. And then we talked afterwards, and he mentioned that he actually used to live in Argentina. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, is this a sign? Like, what is this, right? And he was just such a cool guy. Really, really easy to get along with. To this day, like, we're really close, and we message often. And anyways, long story short, he gave me a job at StuCamp, and I had a really good time there. It was like, I found my passion, not just in sales, but in technology sales now. And, we sold to high schools, and, I got to close deals anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months in length, and, big deals, right? Way bigger than anything I was closing, in a ski rental shop. So yeah, like, my brother has always had his foot in my career, and I'm super appreciative of that. And so, found my passion in sales, decided to pursue technology sales soon after, with my experience at StuCamp and ADT, doing phone sales, right, which was a crazy environment, awesome. I was able to land that IBM internship, and now my career's kind of taken off, which I'm super happy and blessed about. So
I think it's cool, and I appreciate you like kind of bringing us back to that. I think in the moment we sometimes judge our steps a little bit too much, when really if we just keep going, the path is being created as you walk on it, and you don't really have anything to worry about.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's been tough, going through college and jumping from job to job. It's been tough doing that with school, and finding like a good fit while you're in college in your career. I think that's one of the biggest struggles that students are going through right now, is trying to start your career while you're in college to land, your dream job after college. Like, how are you supposed to take 12 to 15 credits and also gain experience in the field that you're wanting? It's a tough job, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things that college students struggle with, and I'm so happy that I was presented with those opportunities to do that in order to line myself up with a great job after college. That's really what I want to help people do, is realize, of course there's so much value in education, but realize that when you're about to graduate, they're going to want 2 to 3 years experience in that field, right? And so I want to help students see that and find opportunities locally to build your resume as you're a college student.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely crucial. Getting involved in some kind of side project or doing anything to kind of get your feet wet with those things before you just kind of get thrown right into it.
Yeah, I think that's where networking starts playing a really big role too. As a college student, that's a great card that you can play on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm a college student, right? can I get your take on this? Can I pick your brain on this? Can I get 20, 30 minutes just so we can, see what you do day to day in your role? That's such a great card to play as a college student because most people, right, they're willing to help you because they were once in your shoes. And so they have the opportunity to help. And, like I said, most people are willing to help. Some aren't. They're very busy. I don't blame them at all. But that's where networking comes to play as a student, taking advantage of that and talking to as many people as possible. It's huge. That's so important.
Yeah, so Nick, to me, when we were in public speaking class together and you gave that speech about how you were able to, put yourself on an exercise plan like during your mission and come back in better shape and everything, it was really cool to me and it really like taught me like we can change how we see different things. Like what we've been told about things, we can change how we see that. What are your thoughts on like creating a compelling story and living your own story?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you remember that speech though.
It was fantastic. We had a lot of speeches we heard in that class, and that's one of the ones that I like. That was a good one. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yeah. I think trying to find your brand is so important. Trying to find who you are, what you want to do, what kind of person you want to be, what values you want to live by. I think as soon as you determine those things, you're able to craft your own story. You're able to do things around your goals, your ethics, right? You're able to craft a story around those things. And once you do that, that tells a compelling story. If you're just doing things just to do things and just to stand out, even if you don't really want to, I don't know if that's going to carry a lot of weight, right? When you're telling that story to a recruiter, if you're telling that story to a friend, you're telling that story to your kids, right? You're not going to be so convinced. So I'll give you an example. I worked at ADT, an authorized dealer actually called Safe Streets. Awesome company. Really good money to be earned. And I was there for about a year. I soon realized nothing wrong with them at all. Just our values weren't aligned. Like some of the things that they saw as important weren't important to me. So I stepped away from that role and I sought out different roles. And to me, that tells a huge story. Willing to drop a gig where you're getting paid great money as a college student, way more than I need, right? Mm-hmm. And positioning yourself to something else that points towards your values, your needs, what's most important to you, that may pay less. Like those are the kind of things that build a compelling story that you can tell to people. And again, finding your own brand, that's something that's extremely important.
That's good. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that example up. Makes you think of like the Disney stories or whatever. Like Frozen is an example. You have like Hans, and like they're like Anna's crazy about Hans, but Hans has ulterior motives and doesn't have Anna's best interest in mind, and so like you find that out later. But it's really easy to get super hyped up about an opportunity. This is something I'm guilty of. Yeah. And then so you'll start to like let go of like other pieces of yourself that are more attached to other things that are be more beneficial to you, right? Because of just how something has been presented, You do think that's what you need, but
exactly right. Yeah. But you have to take a step back and say, why am I doing this? Like, is it just because money? Like, is money really just driving me right now? Is it benefiting, my family, my future? So yeah, doing those little things, it's tough though, right? Because you want that shiny prize, you want that shiny rock that might not do a lot for you. But you got to take a step back and see what's going to be most beneficial to you, especially right now as a college student, where it's going to craft a lot of your career going forward. So.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about like more about that discipline.
Yeah.
When you're having like feelings of inadequacy or just feelings of I'm not getting through to this person on the phone, how do you have the discipline to like hold yourself back or push yourself forward or do what you need to do in that moment to make the most of the situation?
Yeah, I would say. Hmm, I would say reaching out to the people around you in your work environment. Like if we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about work environment, see that's one of the things that I focus on is making sure where I work, I'm supported by my
Mm-hmm.
coworkers. And in sales, you might feel inadequate, 3 out of the 5 days in the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough role. Um, there might be a week where you're just crushing it and hitting all your numbers and quota, you're making a lot of money, you're making everyone happy, but the next week you could be on the very edge of getting canned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which could bring a lot of feelings of inadequacy. But like I said, I think reaching out to the people around you and having a growth mindset is extremely valuable in any work environment, any environment at all. Is being humble enough to reach out to, hey Dallin, I just had a phone call, went really bad. I don't really know what I did wrong. Can you listen to that and can you just give me some feedback? Even if I felt like the call went great, like being humble and willing to let you in on my, what I'm going through, what I'm saying, and picking that apart is so beneficial. I just read part of this book where it talks about you the process of learning. Right, there's unconscious incompetent. There's you know conscious incompetent, where you realize, okay, I know what that is, but I don't really know how to do it. And then you make it towards the third step, which is conscious competent, where you're able to do that, right? And then the last step, which is the dangerous step, is unconscious competent, where you're doing everything out of muscle memory, right? And when you do that down, what happens is you tend to get into this robot mode and you're not learning as you go. You've kind of reached, you in your head, you've kind of reached a peak, right? But going back to that third step where you're continuing to learn in that position, that role, you know, whether that's at work or at home as a father, husband, you're continuing to learn and become better at that role. That's extremely important, especially in sales. That's like huge, right? So I would say that.
Gotcha. Yeah, there has to be that lifelong learning approach that when you have those really difficult times that you're like, this is just a thorn on
Mm-hmm.
the path, you
Yeah,
know. So that's a really good way to look at it.
for sure. Yeah, just being humble enough and um, open with everyone around you in order to just become your best self. I think is a skill that is underrated and everyone needs to have.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Have there been any other like struggles you've had in college, or I know you're like a first generation college student. Is there any things that you've like, I don't know, just kind of like get to you a little bit that, or have most of the things that have come your way just like poof, you just punched it out of the way, or you talk with somebody about it. I think that's amazing, but yeah, I don't know. Is there some things that you think would be helpful to share?
Right. Yeah, I when I started school, I'll admit it, like I was very scared because I was a first generation college student and I didn't really know how I would do. And I'll be super raw with you, man. In high school, I like barely passed. Like I barely walked because I missed like a third of high school. Like
Oh
my
wow.
senior year, I was there 2 days out of every week. The other days, I was just doing my own thing with my friends. Obviously, not doing anything illegal or anything, but just
Mm-hmm.
just doing whatever, like going out to eat. And anyways, so I was really scared to go into college. I didn't really know how I would do, and really one of the biggest reasons why I even did that is one because my mom and dad, like, they're all about that, especially as first first generation college students. They're all about that. They live around the fact that if I don't have a degree, I'm like a Like, I'm not gonna get anywhere. And so that was good and bad, right? For obvious reasons. And then my brother, being a college student here and being so successful and having so much influence here, that's what brought me geographically here to this school. But I would say I definitely struggled with school because I didn't really see the value in it for a long time, and just barely, maybe about a year ago or less, I started understanding how important a degree really is. Some may argue that if you're going into sales, you're really just looking for a good experience in order to land like a good job. But I would say that a degree really gets your foot in the door, because as a recruiter is looking at your resume, if you don't have a degree up there, they won't even look at your experience, right? So that's something I've come to learn as a first generation college student. At the very beginning, I was very hesitant. I was scared. But as I've gone through my college experience, I've learned how important a degree really is, and two, how awesome of an opportunity that as a college student we have to network, because that's where all of my network exists from, is my college career, like working through college, going to school, right, to classes, my professors, right down. So yeah, man, it's been an awesome journey going through college, even though I didn't see the value in it at first, but now I do. I'm super glad I did. So that's kind of my experience as a first generation college student.
That's really good. I'm glad you shared that, because that's something that I've had to come to terms with too, is like having your eyes opened up and being like, this is not a ordinary experience. Like, this is something that's literally been designed for you. Like, that's something I thought was kind of tacky when I heard that BYU-I is like student-centered experience or whatever, but it really is like that. Like, there's a lot of teachers. Like, there's a couple I've even had on the podcast. There's ones I've just talked with all the time, and they really just have that like eye in the sky, so to speak, and they can see farther ahead than I can because they've been through more.
Yeah.
And so they can give me that perspective and that encouragement, and at least just to see like how special of times these really are.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky too, because the professors on campus, granted I haven't been to another college class at a different university, so I don't really know how that's structured or how they feel towards students and their careers, but the professors here, their main goal is to have you land a sweet job, like make you marketable, and they do such a great job here. I feel so blessed to have my marketing teachers, my communications teachers, all really care about where I'm going and what I'm doing in that moment to be marketable. So it's been a great experience being here, not just because of the college students and networking, but the relationships that you build with your professors is so valuable, and you're able to do that in a small setting here at BYU-I, versus you go to another college class and they have 500 students, and they don't even know your name. So it's been a really cool experience here.
Yeah, I definitely have had a very similar experience with that. I just love the fact that you're not just here, but you're like going around talking to people. You're always like, reaching out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I really appreciate the potential that they see in us, and that's something that I want to help others do, is realize their potential, help them see what they are able to do. Honestly, like, it kills me when I see someone have so much potential and knowledge and such a great skill set in a certain area, and they're not taking advantage of that. And maybe it's not because they don't want to, it's maybe just because they don't really know. They don't know how to go about that. So that's something that I really want to do, is become some sort of voice or coach to students that are in that position, that I was in a few years ago. Not saying that I'm an expert, but definitely want to share my experiences with everyone.
Well, it's cool because like when you reach out to people like you've done with Andrew Carroll and other people, that, and he's at IBM, is like you get to get an idea of like, this is what I would like to be, and they kind of help you get there. And so when you graduate and stuff, you will have the opportunity to, well, you can do it now obviously, but you have the opportunity also to reach out to those students who are like, oh, I want to work at IBM. Nick's at IBM, you know, and so they can just reach out to you. So what's like that networking experience been like? You know, you found out you wanted to get into tech sales from Stu Kent, you know, and what kind of did you do from there?
Yeah, I would say that I lucked out, man, because the jobs that the roles that I had throughout college, I was surrounded by incredible people like Andrew Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably my best coworker, like ever. We had such a blast together, so I grew really close to him. And when he went to IBM, you know, I saw that and how successful it was, and you know that he had a good time there. So I reached out to him, and like I said, I really lucked out because I was just placed in that position where I was able to become close to him, not knowing, right, like, oh, you're gonna be at IBM one day, so I'm gonna like stay close to you and be your friend, right?
Yeah.
That's not the way to go about networking,
No,
right? Like
yeah.
using people, but just talking to as many people as you can, like at work, at school, you know, in your ward, and just in every type of environment, because you never know, like, where they will be, and then you never know how you will be able to help them, you know, when you're in a certain position, you know, down 2-3 years. So yeah, I mean, and I was able to do that by trying new things and determining, okay, I want to go into tech sales. What's around? Like Stu Kent, okay, my brother recommended them. Let's look into them, right? So I was able to do that by being proactive, searching out roles that I want to be in, and then surrounding myself with people that are in the same role.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, right? You don't want to say, okay, I'm going into sales, and then go get a job in a department where they're not doing any sort of sales, right? It's obvious, but it's just some people might do something like that because of a money sign, right? But again, surround yourself with people in that same role. Make investments, put some time on their calendar, talk to them, build relationships, and then you're able to help each other, you know, 2-3 years down the line.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to do is be willing to give whatever you can give to help them out.
Yeah.
Because when you give and help out one another, then you're ultimately going to get farther than you would have gone on your own.
Yeah, I think it's important, man. And this is gonna sound silly, but just being a good person. Like, be a good person, because karma does exist. Like, it will come back to you. If you're willing to help someone out, someone somewhere in the universe will pay it forward, right? And that's been so helpful for me. Just being like a decent person, right? Having those values that I talked about earlier, establishing those, and you know, helping those around you to advance forward. It always comes back, man. I don't, you know, we're Christians. We believe, you know, God's not going to leave us hanging. He's going to pay it back to us. He's going to bless us for helping others. So that's a strong belief that I have, and I think, you know, if you believe in God or not, it's just it's a decent thing to do, right? It's help others around you, and again, that'll come right back to you.
Well, it makes sense. When somebody's going through a really rough time and you reach out to them, they're probably not going to forget that. You know, like I've been stranded in my car before and stuff like that, and those people that reached out, even though I haven't seen them since, if I did run into them again, I would be willing to do something for them, you know? It's just the reciprocation factor.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, those are some things that I hold dear to my heart, is, you know, those core values and being able to network.
Cool. So what's Nick in the next couple years? What would you want your like current self to know, like from future Nick?
What would I want myself to know? Shoot, that's a good question. We can take some time. You can edit this part out, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, yeah. I would tell myself in 5 years to invest money. Invest as soon as you can, because that's something that I wish I would have started a little bit earlier. Um, just to give me and my family some sort of, you know, feeling of safety, feeling of peace, having money grow that's free, right, through compound interest. That's huge to me. I think as we can start that as early as possible, we can set ourselves up for a pretty good retirement. That's financially, I would say that's something I would tell myself to do. Um, and I think I would tell myself to gain even more experience in college. I think that I've done a decent job, but I don't know. I feel like I could always be doing more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely tell myself gain as much experience as you can, even right after college. Make those connections, whatever role that you're at, just to set yourself up for, the next 5 years. So I would say that for sure.
That's good. Yeah, so when you watch this or listen to this whenever, you can get a perspective of that
Yeah.
from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do in life is to tell yourself you need to do what everybody else is doing.
Mm.
You know? Like you just like my freshman year, like, oh yeah, you don't need to talk to as many people. Just focus on just finding out where the classes are and just do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's extremely scary for me. Like, I was like, no, I want to make the most of my college experience. I was like talking to people like from day one, talking with as many people as I could, because I knew that that is going to lead to much greener plains, down the road if you are putting that time in now, planting all those seeds.
Yeah. Well, here's another example of like me and you, right? Taking that class together.
Mm-hmm.
You complimented me on my speech, and I remembered that for a long time. I don't know if you realize, but I was like, wow, that was really nice of him to tell me that, because no one else stood up and said, hey, that was like
It was
amazing speech.
fantastic.
Everyone just clapped, right? Like, cool, everyone clapped. Everyone claps for everyone, right? But you took the time to tell me, hey, Nick, your speech was awesome, man. Like, and then I think we connected on LinkedIn. Ever since then, I followed you. Liked each other's stuff, whatever. And now we're here. Like, we're doing a podcast. Like, think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are me and you gonna be doing in the next like 5 years? Like, what's the next step? So it was class, podcast. What's the third thing, right? What's it gonna be? It could be something huge. Dallin, do you want to go on an investment with me, right? Because I remember you from college, and I know that you were such a good kid. Like, you're awesome. You're super good at what you do. You got a good work ethic, right? So it's like things like that. Plant as many seeds as possible, right? And those seeds will, you'll be able to help them. They'll be able to help you. So I think that was a prime example.
Yeah. No, I think there's a book, The Magic of Thinking Big, that I reference all the time. And this guy talks about how he went to this gas station and it was really late, and the guy came out and washed his window, like his windshield as well, and just went out of his way so much. Like he knew that this guy was probably not going to come back, but he still treated him super well. Little did he know this guy that was visiting to do his gas there goes past that area like multiple times a month, and so like all of a sudden it became like such a valued customer. And so you cannot, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, you can't hold yourself back and see a relationship just as how it is.
Yeah.
You never know like how it can grow and become something much more like empowering and powerful over time. Like there's people I've met like just out of the blue, and then they're offering me a job or something like that. You just never know.
Yeah. That also reminds me of, I don't know what the show's called, but when the CEO goes undercover boss.
I don't think I've seen it, but
yeah, I think it's called Undercover Boss, and it's the CEO works as, just someone on the floor, right? Mm-hmm. No one knows he or she is totally disguised, and no one knows that that's the CEO. And the CEO sees these people are treating me this way. How are my employees treating right? And so they're able to experience that. And you just never. The point I'm trying to get at is you just never know, like, who, how important someone is, or everyone's important, right? But how, like, if you're gonna be somewhere in 5 years, where you'll be at, and what kind of relationship that we can build to help each other, right? You don't know those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we don't, right? Because if I saw you walking down the hall and there was a little Walmart tag above your head, Walmart in 2032 gonna be working at headquarters, everyone would be like,
true.
Everyone would be like, "No, what's up, man? Like, let's be friends." You don't want that.
No, I don't.
That's not genuine, right? But just being genuine with everyone, it's just being a decent. It goes back to being a decent person, right? Building those connections, those relationships. They're fun too, man. Like me and you, we're making this podcast together. Like,
it's been a good time, and we'll do another one down the road. Yeah.
Doing the episode together, it's just really cool opportunities that I really enjoy, have fun with. Even if it doesn't, like, even if we can't help each other out immensely, like, it's just fun,
Mm-hmm.
So just doing those kind of things.
Yeah, I think one of the toughest things as a college student too is just to be okay with where you're at and accept that, and then just move forward from there.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, oh, this is something I'm guilty of because it's like my last semester. It's like, oh, I wish I'd done this and this and this. Like, I learned this at Stu Camp. Like, you can reach out to that person right now. Like, you can still, do a lot of that stuff. Like, we still have a lot of time. And so sometimes we think like, oh, I missed that perfect opportunity. There's no such no such thing as like the perfect time for something, really. I mean, you can still have a really wonderful time. Just how you perceive it is really a big thing. But
yeah, I just think college students, when they come to college their first semester, they have fun, which I did, right? Everyone has fun for their first year or so. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of college students don't get out of that. They just have fun for 4 years, 5 years, and they don't really, take opportunities that come and go by, and, take advantage of that networking opportunity as college students. I think it's important to realize college is fun, yeah, but it's important. It's important, those relationships that you're building throughout that time, because it sets you up, for your future. And I hear all the time, I just heard this today. I heard this from a guy that I met with this morning. He told me the first college gig or postgraduate gig that I get is incredibly important because it'll really craft like where you're going after that, which I totally agree with. But to some, that might come off as, okay, I can have fun for 4 years and then I can get serious and have a sweet job, and then it'll take off. But no, that starts as soon as you get into college. Like, that should start immediately. So that's something I've kind of realized.
I met Brother Eager my very first day here at BYU-Idaho. Literally my very first day before school even started, and met him there, and I still talk with him pretty often. And even though I'm not super interested in working at Denny's or whatever, he's still an invaluable resource in so many different ways. And he's worked with some other amazing companies. And I worked at Pizza Hut, like, at least as a delivery driver, and it's fun to talk with him about that. But And then I found out about Stu Camp literally my first semester as well. So these opportunities are around you all the time, and you don't have to worry about like how old you are, how far along you are or aren't. Just start with where you're at, and kind of what you said before, surrounding yourself with those people that are going to help you get to where you need to be. And that's something I've really prayed for and kept an eye on, is like when somebody really stands out, it's like there's a reason this person's standing out. They've put in work, they've done things, and their mindset or whatever, their goals align with mine to a certain degree that they stand out. And so I need to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, that's so important, man. It's just having, finding people with similar goals that you have, whether that's just values, or work goals. It's so important. And I'm so thankful for my brother, just being able to have that example in my life of someone that's passionate about tech, a Latino in tech. It's been huge, and I've been able to kind of follow those footsteps. So I would say, as a college student, find those people, maybe aside from those people, find one person that you really want to kind of craft your career around, and follow those footsteps, and the possibilities are just endless.
I agree. Well, I know we've taken a lot of your time, and it's been a lot of fun, though. Do you have any like final parting words, like for college students or somebody wanting to build their best life, or somebody that might be stuck right now?
Please message me on LinkedIn, or however you can get my contact information. Please, Nicholas Sosa on LinkedIn. I am so passionate about helping people get to where they want to be. I don't have a lot of resources. I'm just about to graduate, so I'm not extremely successful. I'm not a huge name, but I will do everything that I can with the resources I have now to help anyone, try to get to where they want to be. So please feel free to reach out to me. Anyone listening to this, I'd love to help out.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll have a link to Nick's thing in the show notes, and he's been posting more on LinkedIn too, posting some good stuff. So check him out on there. But yeah. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Nick. It was a good time.
Thanks for having me, man.
We'll have you on again, and thank you guys again for listening. And check out Nick for more on his journey. So,
peace.
All right, I would say that was pretty good. It went a little longer than I wanted to, but we just kind of got into it. We just kind of,